What's up guys, ItsADemi, and today, as per viewer suggestion, we're doing a drunk video. So today, we're going to drunkenly discuss our top 3 wishes. If we were to have 3 wishes, no loophole to get more wishes, no way at all to get more wishes, you only have 3, what would we wish for? So, there's the whole genie in the lamp. Not a decision. Anything whatsoever we could wish for with no repercussions.
Well, as long as you word it right.
Well, I mean, there would be repercussions, but only from outside influences, not so much from the genie itself. And y'all probably can't hear me, so I'm going to try and talk a little bit louder in this video, because I almost always get very drowned out in the videos. So anyway, I've got my 40 in hand. He's already drank his 2 bootleggers. So, tell me what.
No, don't worry. I'll do some off-screen.
We'll go one wish. We'll go one wish at a time. What was your first wish?
Alright, my first wish will be for some sort of field of probability around me to change everything in my favor. That way, after that, my other 2 wishes will be affected by that first wish. So my good luck will go in my favor, and then even if he tries to fuck me over, he still can't. I have good luck now.
So your first wish would basically be uber good luck.
Yeah, for good luck.
My first wish, just something I've always wanted, the ability to speak, understand, read, and write fluently every language, past, present, and future. And from my first encounter with the language, I would immediately understand, be able to speak, read and write it fluently. And speak. The greatest thing for controlling the world, because then I speak everyone's language.
We'll see. Thinking small there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to the bigger fish.
Also, my second wish. This is a pretty complicated one. It's a wordy one. I'm going to be wishing for a body-wide transformation powered by my adrenaline and the burning of my immense amount of fat to fuel a perfect human form, including a small bit of telekinesis, teleportation, and the ability to learn anything that I see instantly, pretty much like Taskmaster.
So basically, that one's, you just got to get it worded correctly, and you'll have that.
Yeah.
That's just a rough guy of that wish.
Yeah, well, if I sat here and worded it out, it would sound. It would sound away.
Yeah, it would sound away.
Yeah.
My second wish, I would probably do something along the lines of controlling the elements. And by the elements, I would somehow work in there a specification of my 7 elements, which is fire, water, wind, and earth as usual, but also light, dark, and lightning. So basically, I'd be able to control light, I'd be able to control fire, water, in any way I see fit, and the way I word it, I would also be immune to that. So, I'd be able to control fire and be immune to it so I wouldn't get burned. Control water, but be able to breathe under it or whatever so I couldn't drown myself. Stuff like that. I'd just have control, manipulation, and immunity to all the elements. Or my 7 elements.
This is a little bit on the OP side.
A little bit, but I mean, it's still awesome. I mean, they could shoot me, but I'd have to work at it to get complete mastery because I'm not speaking. I want complete mastery of it. Just control, manipulation. Not really control, it'd be more creation, manipulation, and being able to. So I can create the element, control it, and be immune to it.
So this is where I always run into the problem. I can't think of the third wish. It's pretty much everything I want's covered in the first 2.
Yeah. Be able to learn anything, and you'd have extreme luck.
Yeah. So everything would end up in my favor, and I'm already pretty much beast mode, and then I can use that to.
And you can learn anything, but I mean, you'd have to encounter it. So anytime you encountered me with my wishes, you'd learn it. Now my third wish, it sounds kind of stupid at first. My third wish would be for the power to refill things.
Oh shit.
It sounds stupid as hell, I know, but For those of you out there who I haven't explained this to already, because I've explained it multiple times to these two, the power to refill would basically be whatever was last in the object that I am refilling. It would completely fill it. It would completely refill it until it cannot hold anymore. So if I'm out of alcohol, say I've emptied this 40, snap my fingers, boom, I've got exactly what was just in here. If my bank account runs empty, snap my fingers, boom, my bank account's full. Someone's annoying me at the dinner table, snap my fingers, boom, their bladder's full.
So of course we can go into the raunchy one that I said earlier.
Can't get your wife pregnant, boom, she's full.
Oh no, I was saying you come in a bitch's mouth when she fucking choked on it.
I'm gonna have to figure out a way to edit that out. I probably won't remember that, but I'll figure out a way to edit that out.
It's staying in
But,
there. Barry, make sure that stays in there.
It'll
Reference
stay.
to another.
Fine, we'll stay at it. We'll keep it. Let's see. Now that we've got our 3 wishes down, we'll move on to something a little more fun. Another question I've been asked very frequently ever since I started talking about my weapons. What is your favorite weapon and why? For some reason, people have not realized that obviously the katana is my favorite weapon. I have like 8 of them. And like maybe 1, 2, or 3 of every of the other weapons I own. So, guns, I've got 3 or 4 of them. But katanas, I have like 8. So, obviously katana is my favorite weapon of all time, and if I could have absolutely any katana whatsoever, it would be a katana of my creation, which I would call the Kage no Yaiba. It changes shape based on whatever I can think of, but I have to know all the intricacies of it. If I were to change it into a gun, I would have to know all the inner workings of the gun and everything. I'd have to have the outside ammunition, of course, otherwise it's going to be firing off pieces of itself.
It seems like a lot of magic will go into that story.
Oh yeah, it was forged by a demon. At least in my world. In my world, it was forged by a demon out of a metal of angels.
It's that kind of, what's your favorite weapon? You go into something that's magical, forged by a demon. It's like,
Well, no, my favorite weapon is a katana. If I could have any weapon, it would be that one.
for me, if we're not talking about a full weapon system, which is the one I described to you earlier.
Right, but for the people at home, what is your full weapon system?
My full weapon system would be a rapier with a gun built into it, so that every time it'd be a 6-shooter revolver, about 45 caliber, whatever. Whenever you thrust it, it would fire, and you can set it to semi-automatic
Or turn it on.
double action or whatever.
Basically,
You could
double
pull the
action.
hammer back, or you could have it set where it just always fires when you thrust.
And have the recoil, send the hammer back. And then the handguard.
And then the handguard also doubles as a claw gauntlet, which you can pull off and slice through people.
With epic claws, mind you. Now, these are steel claws like, if you haven't, I'm sure everyone's watched X-Men 2. Yuriko Oyama. General Stryker's pet, for lack of a better term. The chick with the claws for hands on her fingers instead of in her fist like Wolverine. Basically, the claw gauntlets would be like that, only they'd be a lot more intricate, and they'd go back over the hands.
Or they'd be like this long out and come around. I'm not talking
small.
Yeah, like just right over my hands. I'm not talking about like fucking long ass blades off the end of the thing. That's what you've been picturing this whole time?
Yeah, that's what I've been picturing this whole time.
Yeah,
So,
I'm talking
okay,
about more
so
like
just-
lion claws, just metal fucking covers over your fingers that go into points. With
Okay.
sort of edge that you just.
So they're shorter than what
Yeah,
I've
and
been
then they
picturing.
cover the thing to the handguard and just
Okay. Basically, they attach the claws.
I believe
attach
that's
to
what
the
you've been
hand.
picturing
Yes,
the
that's
whole
what
time.
I'm
Really,
picturing.
really long fucking Wolverine
Yeah,
fingernails.
Just ripping out. The epic. But okay, so they're little lion claws, like my little finger gauntlet.
But without the extra knife on it, right?
So, Outside of
course-
that, what's your favorite weapon?
Well, if I was going to just pick one, it would probably just be claws like that. Just so I can just increase my hand-to-hand power just that much more, just
And of
enough
course
to
the
make it
knuckles would
super
be,
lethal.
like bladed. So basically, you'd be punching with brass knuckles and slicing his claws.
If I had the on, I would never even bother punching. I'd just rip, slash, jab with my fingertips. I'd be a fucking straight up animal, just dripping off the wall and slicing faces off. It'd be fun. I wouldn't have the range of a katana, but I could probably get around that. Like the speed and fucking control the blade fingers.
And now, if you could have any weapon, what would it be?
Just any
Just
weapon.
your setup.
Just my setup, probably. Let's see. It's something mythological.
Just anything of your creation. Like the 5-ton sword, for example.
Well, I'm going to need that for sure, but I'd have to be able
Right
to wield
now,
it.
you wouldn't be able to wield
Right
it.
now, I prefer my basic, the right here gun thing. Also, I forgot to put your loads every time I put the guns back into the sword, or the whole sword back into the holster.
It reloads every time you stick it back in the sheath. Because if you put just the guns back into the swords, it's going in the sheath. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, what else can we talk about? Where's that fucking notebook? I don't think that's it. Is that it? That's it. Alright, let's see. What else can we talk about? Hang on, guys. I gotta get to the right page. We've got all our topics and everything wrote down. Utopia. Let's talk about Utopia. We haven't really discussed that. We've referenced to it and everything, but we've never really discussed it. So we're gonna have to go. We've covered our 3 wishes. We've covered favorite weapons. Next is Utopia and every weapon ever. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. You wrote it.
Well, it's supposed to be any weapon that you can think of. Let's talk. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it because I fucking love weapons. So
Everyone loves weapons. Well, not everyone. I personally love weapons. I don't know about you guys at home, but I'm obviously an avid Second Amendment supporter. So, Utopia. Let's talk about Utopia. We've hinted at it and everything. Now these guys get to hear exactly what Utopia is. Now, give the abridged version. We don't want the whole book before you publish it.
Well, Utopia is going to be what I call planet Earth, or most of planet Earth besides Canada.
With the exception of Canada. So you guys at Canada, you're safe. But as we said, Africa, he's come to you first.
Coming there first. So starting with Africa and spreading out throughout the world will be named Utopia. And it'll be my recreation of the Earth the way I think it should be. Perfect giant fossils.
Now this is some serious. Like, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that I've had some of the most intelligent conversation I've ever had with this motherfucker here. He seems like a dumbass and a bit of a stoner because he is, but at the same time he's got a great scientific mind, and his plan to come into control of the world is a pretty solid plan if he can pull it off. And it's very likely that he could, because almost, well, some of it sounds more in the realm of science fiction. With enough money, you could do anything.
Fucking everything
And some of the other stuff,
is science
if
now
you know
used
him,
to be science fucking fiction.
yeah. I mean, if you know him, then you'll believe that he could pull off some of the shit that he says he's going to do. Like, the first part of the plan is to attain fame and fortune, which would be by way of mixed martial arts, he says. He's going to do either mixed martial arts or publish a book, or both at the same time. And the book will entail his exact plan for coming into power over the entire world except for Canada. And then
Except for Canada. Make sure everybody knows.
except for Canada.
Because they gave us Justin Bieber, so fuck those guys.
Exactly. So now Justin
And
Bieber
I have to
will
leave a
have
place
to
for other people to go. Just
Right.
so I'm not a complete asshole. Like, if you don't want to be in Utopia, you're stupid, but fuck you, have fun in Canada.
Exactly. You gotta freeze your ass off, but that's what you get for not going along.
Okay.
But he plans to completely demolish money. There will be no money whatsoever. Now people will have luxury points and they can spend on whatever they want. They can spend it on food if they want to be a badass. Or they can spend it on great cars if they want to look like a badass, and a nice house. They can spend their luxury points on whatever they want. But this, for the most part, everyone will have food rations, which for the most part will
Everyone
avoid the planet
will
of
have the
fattest.
exact same basic minimum. Everybody will have the same TV. There's no point in fucking making you pay extra for TV when there's no money anyway. You always make the money off of it. So everybody gets everything that's ever been thought of for entertainment. Right off the bat. Food, but for you're only going to be allowed what your body should be intaking, based off of your body weight and form and.
And if you're a fat ass, it'll be a little bit less than what your calorie intake normally is, because he's trying to avoid the world of useless, fat ass, lazy motherfuckers. Now, if you choose to spend all your luxury
basically
points
trying to
on
unite the world and enhance the human race as a species, and not as individual humans as a species, not as individual races.
And then there will be no point of bullying. It'll abolish bullying simply because everyone will have the same amount of everything. And the only people who could even consider themselves better are the people who spend all their luxury points right away on a fancy house and a fancy car, and they're looking at some other motherfucker who did it smart and is rationing out their luxury points to survive properly.
Or someone who's actually worth more than somebody else who actually put something out that gains them more points or whatever. Like, if someone is like the smartest fucking scientist I got on my staff, then he's going to have a little bit more luxury points to spend because he's actually benefiting the fucking world, so he can have a little bit bigger.
He's benefiting the king, therefore benefiting the world. This is why we call him the future king. It's his Xbox gamer tag, and even though he claims that his title is going to be Emperor, future king works better.
It rolls off the tongue better for
The future Emperor just doesn't flow as well.
But when I'm currently Emperor, it's
Oh yeah, when it's your current Emperor, your reigning Emperor. But yeah, Utopia, basically, his idea is to become either a mixed martial arts champion or an author, or both at the same time, in which he will use his fame from either one to maybe get into movies, get a little extra money, and then he's going to use that money to fund a major invention, whether it's probably the first will be the perpetual motion engine.
If I can get it working with enough money into some science dudes. I don't think I want to do all that math myself.
I'd be one of those science dudes. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good with science.
Just some magnets posted around at just the right angle so that they keep pulling on each other to continuously spin a sphere.
A sphere made of like copper that will generate its own electromagnetic field and then continuously produce energy, and there's no way to stop it. That's why it's called a perpetual motion engine.
Yeah, it just keeps
But
going.
eventually, cars will be ran off of this, so all our electric hybrid cars are going to be run off of a perpetual motion engine.
And just
which
drop
basically
oil all together, and then
drop oil all together,
the
so
pollution
there's
is
no
no
need for
longer
money.
coming out. Then all we have to do is clean it up.
Right. The pollution
And
that's
that's where
here,
the
we have to clean
nanobots
that.
come in.
Exactly. He's going to fund research, R&D on nanobots, a perpetual motion engine. The nanobots mostly for himself.
After I've mastered 100 times gravity, then I'll get the nanobots to the atmosphere and such. But that's right around the time I'm getting ready to leave. That way, I'll leave you guys on a nice planet, but I'm leaving the planet.
Naturally, he'll be funding a R&D on a gravity dojo. Basically, he's going to train up to 100 times gravity, and everyone else on the planet will train at 5 times gravity, 5 times Earth gravity. That way we don't have a planet full of weaklings. If we do happen to have an alien invasion, we can fight back. And everyone will be 5 times more durable.
Our species will be strong, and we will not be obliterated from the universe by something stronger.
Right. Even if there is, there's probably something stronger out there, but it'd be a nice fight at the very least. And then there will be those specific few hand-selected by him as his army. This is where it gets fun. The hand-selected army, which will be trained at like 50 times gravity, half of his strength, and they get to watch him conquer the world. So he's got this really super strong army that does nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, they just stand there and watch while I single-handedly conquer entire nations by myself and 5.
But of course, he's going to live in Australia because it's the most out of the way and oh my god, awesome place in the world.
I'm definitely gonna have my own island. Now, whether it's Australia or not, I'll probably just make a fucking island, just so it'll be out where I want it and how I want it.
Just grab the earth under the water and pull it up.
I mean, there's ways to make islands just with money. I can do it before I'm fucking okay. I want an island over here. Build me one, science man. I'll just have a guy on hand, science man.
And basically, his army is going to consist of 7 or 8 people or so who's going to watch each continent. There'll be one person.
Oh no, the basic army can get like 50, but everybody who's in the elite will get the full 100.
The 7 elite. The 7 elite that are also trained at 100 times gravity, the only ones who could possibly betray him and stand a chance. But that only
and even if they all teamed up together, I'd still have a good chance.
That depends on if those same people could kick his ass right now. If those people could kick his ass right now at 100 times gravity, they're the only ones who stand a chance in a rebellion. Or treason. But anyone that doesn't want to be free of the control of money, free of the government, free of government in general, if anyone
in Utopia, we're not going to have anarchy. We're going to have
it's not going to be anarchy.
It'll be a nation governed by the people, but
it's going to be a true democracy.
And it'll be set up by a monarch, like a monarchy, until it is completely integrated into the people. And once the system's running, then the people will be given control of it, and the monarch will disappear. And then you'll all just have control, and everybody will vote together.
That's until he leaves the planet, because once he leaves the planet, this one's mine. I'll be taking over that and turning it into dystopia. Everyone uses seconds of their life.
See, you're gonna get to see what Utopia was like. You're gonna be like, oh, it was a nice place. He was a really cool guy. And then I'm gonna leave,
and turn
this douchebag's gonna fuck up the world.
And I'm gonna take everyone's lifespan and turn it into money. You spend time with your life instead of money. So if you want to spend all your money on food and become a fat ass, guess what? People are coming knocking at your door at 12 o'clock in the morning because you spent your entire life literally on food. So my people are going to come knock on your door and kill you because you spent all your life.
Well, damn, I was trying to incentivize people to get fit by just showing them how badass you could be at 100 times gravity. You're just like, you know what? You eat, you die.
Pretty much.
Okay.
No, you can eat. You can eat. Because you're spending seconds rather than minutes or hours, which is just too much. If you're spending fucking a year off your life on one object, I mean, other than like a house might be worth a year, but it'd be a really fucking nice house. But I mean, if you've got cancer and you're projected 4 days to live, you have 4 days to spend. Whatever your projected lifespan would be, that's how much money you had to spend in seconds. So naturally you'd have banks to keep track of it, but it wouldn't be like deposit withdrawal banks. It'd just be banks to keep track of it. Every transaction goes through your bank to keep track, and anyone whose seconds reach zero, if you reach a zero balance, my people will be coming to kill you. So that's how it's going to be after he leaves. Then he's going to come back, realize I've destroyed his utopia.
That's assuming I don't get to trick you into coming with me into space and then jet-setting you out somewhere into space.
You're not going to trick me because you told me about that already.
You'll forget. It's going to take a minute.
I have an excellent fucking memory. As a matter of fact, ARK7274, you know what that is? That's the first license plate my mother ever had.
Okay, well, here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to trick you, but instead,
on a Ford Windsor LX.
I'm going to challenge you to a martial arts tournament on the moon. Then I'm going to kick you off the moon towards Saturn and chase you through space until we get lost in space.
Why?
So you can't fuck up my utopia. Fuck up another planet.
You're going to be fucking with other planets anyway.
Yeah, but because I already fixed the one I give a shit about.
Exactly.
So why are you going to fuck up my shit? Well, go fuck up space.
So you have something to come back to.
I don't want to come back. I want to just leave and hope that it's good. See, what I want to do is leave and then people think I'm a myth. But if you fuck it up, then I'll have to come back and then they'll know the myth's real, and I don't want them to know.
Then it'd be like they're praying for their savior, the former emperor, to come and save them, and then you show up and they're like, I knew he'd answer our prayers. And they're like, holy shit. The ones who didn't believe were like, holy shit, this guy exists. I mean, you gotta leave for like a couple of years, for a couple of generations for people to forget. But it'd be awesome.
And all the space adventures.
Exactly. You could be a space pilot. Have all your space adventures and then come back.
You know you wanna be my space rival. You wanna continuously
I'll
bumping
be your
into me.
space rival, but I mean,
In
I'm still gonna
space.
fuck up Earth first.
Then I'll immediately hear about it, have to come back and fix it, and then put
Basically,
up a blockade and
you
then
will
leave.
become the people's god, and I will become their devil. I will be the reason that the world is in such bad condition, while the Christians say, oh, it's the devil's fault the world is full of sin. I'll be the reason that, oh, it's his fault the world's all full of this shit. This stupid shit. It's his fault it's his
But I
fault the
fixed
world
it.
is so fucked up.
You
God
can't just let a good
God
thing
fixed
lie.
it once, but now the devil's come and fucked it up. And then God comes back for his children and fixes it again.
Alright, well, I'm leaving with the 7 intact or whatever, so you'll at least have a challenge to go up against him. I'm thinking.
I'll probably be one of those 7.
I don't know.
You gotta let me be one of those 7. Come
What, so
on.
you can be fucking Judas?
Yes, you gotta let me be one of those 7, so that way the one that betrayed them all.
You do the One Ring?
It'd be exactly like the Christian story of God. I am Lucifer. I betrayed you. I blow up the world. I brought sin into
You
the
blew
world.
it up. Why you want to blow it up for?
Okay, I won't blow it up. But
That's gonna be hard to fix. You know how
I'll
much
fuck
dirt
it.
I'm gonna have to dig up through space to put back together, make a new planet, and then I gotta squirt my genetics all over it, and that's just gonna be nasty and sticky.
Man crawled out of the primordial soup. What if that's what the primordial soup was? And the scientists have it right. God jizzed all over the planet, and we crawled out of it.
He's like, oh, that was a good night.
I
That's
gave
gonna
life to
make
the
a
planet.
badass planet. Oh, so
We all
that's what the
slept
Big
on
Bang
God's
was.
phone.
The Big Bang wasn't sex, it was just a masturbation. God just fucked the universe. Boom!
Apparently. Either that or we all exist inside the over mother's womb. And we're just still growing and shit.
Each galaxy's
hasn't
floating
given birth
around in
yet.
somebody in God's nutsack.
We're not in God's nutsack, we're in his wife's womb. Damn.
We were in God's nutsack at one point.
Yeah, but we weren't aware of that time. God jizzed all over the egg that's known as Earth.
Oh
I'm gonna have to make sure this is labeled explicit content. I'll name it the Birds and Bees. The Birds and Bees of your future king. Let's see. Let's move on. Let's move on to every weapon ever since you had that bit long. Why not? What do you think about hook swords?
Chinese hook swords.
Yes.
Good for disarming, kind of more showy than I really like, and they only really work in wire fighting, bro.
Yeah, they only really work in the movies. They don't do a whole lot of good in real life. I used to own a set. They were awesome, but I eventually sold them. First off, they weren't sharp. They were just for practice. But I mean, the corners on the handguard crescent were sharp, and every time I tried to do fancy shit with it, I'd stab my armpit or something. And I mean, it wasn't like deep enough to draw blood, but it was enough to hurt. And so eventually I just got rid of them for a katana. Because as I've stated, katanas are my favorite weapon. What about a naginata?
Definitely a great reach.
Basically the staff crescent sword.
I mean, just we can explain it.
Right. Basically the naginata stands about 5.5 foot tall. Sometimes 6 foot, excuse me.
Why didn't you bring yours up already?
No, I gave it a read for Christmas. But it's got one blade on it, and it usually it has a handguard right above that. Sometimes it'll separate into a sword and a staff.
The more modern ones, they didn't used to.
The more modern ones will. But basically, it's a stick, a bow staff, with a handguard at the top, and a blade about that tall, and from about that wide to this wide up at the top, and it curves off into a point. That's naginata. What do you think about naginatas?
great range, perfect for leg sweeps or upper body strength, taking out arm, disarming your opponent. Fairly effective weapon, not easy to conceal or carry through.
Not easy to conceal at all.
To carry through small spaces or through
or even using small spaces.
wooded areas.
But I mean, most of them that you can get nowadays are going to be the more modern one, but it still takes forever to sit there and fucking unscrew it.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty decent, but overall, there's better options.
As far as zombie apocalypse, it'd be pretty great, because I cut through a tree branch about that big.
Oh yeah, you
That
can fuck
big
up some
with
zombies with it.
Oh yeah.
And you got all kinds of range. You can
And
keep
the
them,
stab.
keep them off up there too.
The only problem I had with the one I had was the blade would sometimes get loose, like it was screwing out of the handguard, and I'd have to twist it back to get it tightened up again. That was the only problem I ever had out of mine, but that's the more modern ones. And made in China shit, not real Japanese Tamahage steel.
And what's your preferred firearm?
My preferred firearm? Ooh. I'd probably say I like sniper rifles, and I'm fairly accurate with them. But I'm not a big fan of the hide and shoot. If I'm gonna go with
don't know
firearms,
you're killing them, it's not a fight.
it's not fun.
You just killed them, and then they were like, "What the fuck? I'm dead."
If I had to pick, I'd say Desert Eagles or 44.
I'll
Twin
probably
Desert
ban
Eagles.
sniper rifles too. I think.
I'd have to go. Well,
No
don't get me
scope
wrong.
rifles.
The M.
I just ban scopes altogether, and you have to make your own fucking scopes.
The M4 Viper is pretty badass. I like the Viper. It's got a nice range. Effective range is about 350 to 400 yards. It's got a great effective range, semi or auto. Safety feature, extendable stock. Usually holds about 30, 32 rounds per magazine. It's a nice gun. The recoil isn't that bad. It's a more modern gun, usually used in military type settings and shit at this point. But M4 carbines are probably my favorite class of weapons, simply for the
So you're more of a rifleman than a pistoleer.
I'm still a marksman rifle kind of person. Now, favorite gun of all time, even though it is a sniper rifle, my favorite gun of all time is the Russian-made Mosin Nagant. It is a fantastic gun. Now, it's more of a bolt action. It's more of a marksman rifle than a sniper rifle, because it doesn't have the same range as most sniper rifles nowadays. But the old-timey Mosin Nagant, it had a great range of about 700 yards, which is fantastic. And, that's a little over half a mile. It had a range of a little over half a mile. Caliber, I think it was a 35 caliber rifle, something like that. Fantastic gun. To this day, I'm still looking for a good Mosin Nagant.
Me,
The Dragunov rifle is pretty good, don't get me wrong, but the Mosin Nagant will always hold a special place in my heart.
for me, I'm really into pistols. I like to dual wield, but if I'm talking about one single weapon and not two weapons at the same time, because
Even two weapons at the same time is still one kind of weapon. But let's put it this way. GTA, you have pistol, submachine gun, assault rifle, sniper rifle,